Day 100 of the coastal crisis.
The temporary camp is holding in the Gulf of Mexico. Next step for BP is the top kill. But the massive BP oil spill is still impacting so many of us, as of course we've seen in the questions that all of you have posted. Now, Marcia has sent us an email asking, what does the future hold? Oyster season starts in October. If our fishermen can't harvest them, will BP still reimburse them? That is an excellent question, Mr. Keller with BP.
Again, I think it's the same answer that I had earlier. If people through that period have an economic loss and they can document that, they need to file those claims. We don't want anyone that believes they have a valid claim to not file it.
Now, I don't have any valid claim about oysters, but I certainly love oysters like most people who grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
I think their question is more, what's going to happen to something like that? Is that more of a DMR question?
As far as opening the oyster
Oysters.
beds, absolutely. They need to contact the DMR. They're going to make those determinations, not us.
Okay, well, that's another thing I'm going to put on my list that we'll get to y'all. We'll maybe cover tomorrow on the news. But have we seen the worst of it? I mean, some people have, I've had two scientists tell me they think Mississippi dodged the proverbial bullet, that it could have been much, much worse. And you kind of agreed with that. Have we seen the worst of it?
Well, we're certainly relieved that they put the cap on and we stopped the uncontrolled flow. That was the worst of it, is trying to fight what amounted to a new oil spill every day. Frankly, a spill about the size of Exxon Valdez every 5 days if you looked at the outflow. I mean, that was the real frustration. And as I said before, I think we've got a good strategy going forward. We're seeing a lot less oil out there, and that's a very good thing. And I liked the opening clip in the news here that said, hey, Mississippi's open for business. And that's right, and that's a good story.
But where did all that 180 million gallons of it go? I mean, I know you said there's bugs and it dispersed and all these different things, but it certainly didn't disappear. Did it get into the column of the...
Well, a lot of it was dispersed. A lot of it was dispersed by aerial dispersant, spreading dispersant on the surface of the water. That's a proven strategy. The subsea injection of dispersants was new, but we think it had great effect. There'll be some long-term environmental monitoring, and I'm sure the studies will show that it was the right cost-benefit decision.
We've heard worries about dispersants, too, and I'll ask you, Luke, what are they hearing at BP? Did they feel like dispersants were the right thing, and what about the long-term effects of that?
We absolutely believe that using dispersants was the right thing to do. Any way that we could take this oil and put it in a condition that the natural microbes could take over as fast as we could do that was a good thing to do. There's going to be additional study on the total impact of the spill, including the dispersants, and I think that'll be something there'll be a lot of study on, and along with a lot of other things to do with this spill. The people who have been involved in this, BP, the Coast Guard, and others, know more about oil spill cleanup and recovery than anyone in the world does now. So the experience that's been gained here in both the containment of free-flowing wells, as Captain Boone talked about, the cleanup on the surface and on the shoreline, we know more about that now than anyone in the world does. So this will be a case study along many, many lines that we're going to learn many things and be able to better respond in the future.
Now, we've heard in the past few weeks Tony Hayward stepping down or actually being sent off to Siberia. No, I'm kidding. Being sent off to Russia with BP. And now Bob Dudley, who a lot of us were excited about with some Mississippi roots. He lived here as a child. He went to the Barrier Islands. He said he loves this place. Here's one question from one of our viewers named Tom. He asked, Bob Dudley has received a warm welcome from some, but many have no reason to believe he can handle things better than anyone else. Cleaning up the Gulf of Mexico and cleaning up BP's image may be the top of his list, but how is he going to get the job done? Luke, you said you know him very well. You've worked with him for many years. He's your boss now. Tell me about him and why you think he'll be any different or better than Hayward.
Well, first, let me say that it's a very sad day to see someone like Tony Hayward that's given that much of his life to a company like BP and accomplished many things to go out the way he did. He accomplished many things and did a great job for BP. Under the circumstances, he and the board decided it was the right thing for him to step down. And
because of his image?
You know, that was a discussion that took place between the board and Tony that I wasn't a part of. Bob Dudley is a great man, a great gentleman, and I think the people along the Gulf Coast that have met him over the last couple of months have come to see that. It's a great task that's in front of us, and we've talked about that a great deal, of what it's going to take to restore BP's image and our credibility in the community. We've said many times in many ways we're going to make this right. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to stay here as long as it takes. We've turned a corner now. We've stopped the flow. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have a permanent plug of the well. But that doesn't mean we're leaving. We're going to be here until we make it right. And that's going to be in the eyes of the community, the people that live here along the Gulf Coast. That's going to take us some time to do. We understand that. It's a big task, but we're up to it.
And you do deserve congratulations, by the way, for stopping that. We know it was a massive undertaking for everyone. Lori sent us this email asking, if we started with containment of the oil leak and moved into cleanup of the water and beaches, what is the next phase expected to be? We've kind of touched on that, Commander Poulin. Tell me what's next. What's tomorrow?
Well, the cleanup hasn't finished yet. There is still minor amounts of oil on the water. We've got to stand ready to clean that up. It's dropping geometrically every day. And the beach cleanup will continue as well. But she's absolutely right. We need to look at what the transition is to the next phase. And we've got to make sure that we're targeting our resources to the threat. As that threat diminishes, of course, the resources that we have out on the water will diminish as well. And then it's going to be long-term restoration and recovery. I think that's really the long-term projection on how this incident will pan out in the future.
Is there a master plan? Is there a board somewhere that says clean up oil, blah, 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 money to wildlife restoration? I mean, what is kind of the big picture? Well,
I think it's absolutely critical that the states are involved in the decision on how clean is clean. That's going to be a critical decision. That's probably not going to happen for some time. As I mentioned, we're still going to have some tarballing impact, minor and sporadic, but that's really going to be a decision that we have to work closely with the states.
And my final question, well, first of all, I want to give you all a chance. Whenever I interview someone on camera, I say, anything I missed or anything you'd like to add? What would that be?
Well, first, I just appreciate the opportunity to be here. This is the third time that I've been able to come and do the news show here, and I really appreciate that. And you guys have been great in educating the public, and I'm glad that I got to be a part of that. And I also wanted to say, again, that just the great participation that we've got from the state of Mississippi, the leadership of Governor Barber, and the folks from Mississippi DEQ and MEMA have just been tremendous. This is really a bottom-up incident, and we can only be successful if we've involved the local communities, and we've done that, and it's a real credit to them that we've gotten this far.
Thank you. Mr. Keller from BP?
So a follow-up on that question about the future is that I was just been in the Unified Command Center in New Orleans the last couple of days talking about how we do that transition and making sure the thing we want to make sure of is no ball gets dropped over that period.
I'm sorry I have to cut you off. We totally ran out of time. We're going to close with Turtle Video. We want to end on good news. Thank you very much. Commander Poulin with the Coast Guard.
Thank you for having us.
Luke Keller with BP. We'll see you all tonight at 10. Thanks for watching.